All right, today I'm just going to go over some workflow things and basically how I put together some different projects. I kind of give some examples here and then typical things that I would do to make everything work a little bit better and easier. So I'll just go through this as a first example and kind of explain what is in it, how I added things, and then what I do throughout the process to kind of make it all run smoothly or be put together as smooth as I can. So if I go into my orbit view here, I'll just kind of zoom out on it. So we have this fairly large room. Right now I just have these seats kind of spread out just as a placeholder for now. But you can see that in this example there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 5 different screens here. I believe they're all like LED screens. And then so I'll just kind of explain what's put together in this project. There's a lot of these LED bars. You can see some up here, right here, basically on the stage here, and then these upright ones, and then some screens. So, all right. So I'll kind of explain how I started this one. And if you want to see the full build of this project, we did a live stream of this in the past. So you can go to our YouTube channel and look at the live stream somewhere on our YouTube channel and see me build the whole thing. But I believe I just started from a concept or an idea of wanting a lot of screens in a large space. So I set out these 5 different screens. I either would go and drag out an LED screen, so an LED wall here, and then just set the size of it over here, and then kind of do the same throughout. You could also go to this build button here and go into screens and set the exact size of the screen that you want, and it will place it over here as well. So that's kind of what I started with, is just the screen idea, and then I wanted to add some lighting and different objects in between the stuff, and then I wanted to sort of make that work well with some other lighting over here so that it would work together well. So anyways, so that's kind of what I added for the screens there, and then for the lighting, a lot of times what I would do is, if this was just going to be kind of a basic setup with like a rectangular stage, I might go through this build button here and just kind of add out all the objects that I want with the dimensions that I want. So I would say, I want a stage that's certain dimensions wide, and it'll just populate it for me. I might want a backdrop that's specific size, and it'll just populate it there for me. So that's what I do a lot of times to create a setup. But in this case, if you're kind of playing around a lot and being a little more conceptual with how you do things, you might just drag them out pieces out individually to get what you want. So I believe for these lighting objects, if I go into my top view here, you can see back here I was playing with kind of a half circular stage. But it actually looks like I didn't put anything here to hold up the truss, or hold up the lights. But what I would probably do is just drag out a piece of truss like this, maybe a base over here, or just drag out the base first and then put that on it, and then kind of attach those as I need to do that. And you can look, if I now go into my orbit view here, I can focus in on this truss by hitting the zoom button or F on my keyboard, and then I could duplicate this truss and move it up and just kind of work like that. So this is basically a lot of duplicating objects. So once you got something that you like or want, I kind of go in between my front view, my top view, and my orbit view on my cameras here, and then I'm selecting things and I'm zooming into them so that I can look at them and work on them easier. And then I'm often, again, just for something like this now, if I'm going to duplicate it, I would potentially make a group out of it, so I could select the whole thing and then create a group. This one already has groups in it though, so for instance, if I go back over here, oh, that's not. What I did earlier is I grouped a bunch of these LED uprights already so that I can select them and they'll all change at once. So that's kind of something you could do as well. So you could either group a whole sort of upright of these, right? And then when you duplicate them, it'll be easier to work with. Or you could group individual objects within them. Again, like this. So you can see now when I select these lights, it looks like I have these ones grouped on the inside here maybe. So potentially if you wanted those ones to work together, you'd group them together, and then you can just select, or you can just change the color of those individual sort of uprights right there. So you can see how that works. And then it looks like I also grouped together these objects as well. So I maybe change the color of one of those. And same thing here. So I'll kind of explain too real quick how I built the stage and then the truss and the added the lights on here. So I wanted this stage to kind of jet out and mimic the look of this truss here. So for the stage, what I did is I used a combination of these, like a basic cube, and then I just set the size of it. So I don't know how wide this is, but maybe you do something like this, and then you scale it to get it the size that you want, right? So you could do something like this. And then once you've got that, maybe I think what I did is I added a triangular shape. So if I were to rotate this like 90 degrees and move it up and then go out like this, you can kind of start to get a shape, something like this, to kind of create the stage shape that you want. So these are basic shapes here, and you're just kind of manipulating them and playing around with that. And then you can always go in and adjust the color of them if you want, as well as the gloss and stuff like that too. So that's kind of how you can play with creating these kind of custom shapes with stages and other objects. And then I believe once I did that, so you can see kind of where the shape lies here. Once I did that, I just grouped them together. And then for the stage, I think I just kind of added in these lights, and I dragged them out here and then just rotated them outward. I believe that's what I did there. Potentially, if you don't want to see the LED lights in there, you could do something like, I think that, let me see here, something like this light has, it doesn't show the LED light, so you could use this, and then you could scale it out to make it look like it's a LED bar light to any size you want. So these are all just things that you can do quickly to get the look that you want. And then duplicate them as you need, like this, and then group them together. And that way you can quickly get what you want that way. I think another way that you could do that again is just use a basic shape and make it look like it's a bar there and kind of has a glow to it, and that way you just can control the glow of the light, and it wouldn't actually be a light, it would just kind of be a glowing box. So that's how I did all that, and that's pretty much the basis of this whole set. I guess the truss would be the only other thing, which is that, again, this is all grouped together. If I unlock this group, I have some curved truss, so in this situation, maybe you drag out some truss like this, and then you move it up to where you want it, or potentially you could use this build feature and just add in, if I just click on this button here, it will give me some truss over here, so I could potentially just grab it, move it over here, and then change the truss to like a curved truss. So this is kind of an example of how to do that. And then once I've done that, I might, let me see here. So you want to place this correctly. This is, if you were to use this truss like this, you can duplicate it and create a circle. But you can play around with that. That's kind of how you do something like that, and add this and rotate it basically. All right, so that's kind of how I go about something like that, and then just kind of placing lights. You can, again, just drag a light in like this and place it on your truss that way. Or you could go into lighting over here, and if you select this, it will give you an array of lights that you can adjust how much you want, and that sort of thing, and then place them as you need, and then duplicate them and that sort of thing too. Cool, so that's that, and I just wanted to look at one other example. One more thing too, before I get out of this project. For the seating, I typically separate the chairs, if I do a lot of chairs, into groups of sections. So in this situation, I have 3 groups. It looks like this one I did a chevron on and not the other side, but so the way I would do that is just set the number of chairs I want with this section here, and it'll give me like I would want to just do a small section because that way you can group them together. If you do a ton of chairs all together, it's not gonna be able to group, like hundreds of objects together. So you just want to do smaller groups, and then basically you can duplicate the groups and do that. And in this situation, I just created a row, and then I turned it a little bit, and then I can create this kind of chevron look by doing that. Cool, so that's that. Let me open this other project here to quickly look at what we did with this one. And I'm sorry, I'm just kind of going through this quickly just to kind of try to highlight the sort of examples of how I would go about making a project just by highlighting the different sort of things that aren't obvious, I guess, or maybe aren't obvious. Starting off, I'm just going to remove the tables here. A couple ways that you can do this. So I would typically add tables and stuff like this last in my scene just because they have a lot of geometry and lighting to them. So they can slow down the project if there's already a lot going on in it. So you can either kind of move them like out of the way right there like that, or you could potentially delete them for now, and you could always just add them pretty easily at the end. Looks like I have some projectors over here. And I'll get rid of real quick. And this is in a group for some reason. All right, so I'm not sure why there's some added things over here I guess forgot to get rid of. All right, so what we have here again is another 5-screen setup here. I believe for this one I actually started with a template. So I think I started with something like, I think like this template, I used this as a sort of option to start with. I dragged that out and then I kind of just modified it from there. So let's see, if we look at these, we have 3 different sort of size screens, actually 1, 2, 3 different size screens here. So in this example, again, you could start over here. If you go to screens, you can get a standard size screen. These will just give you different 16:9 format screen sizes. So you can set them out that way, or you can drag out a screen from here, which you have some LED screen options, fast fold screen options, as well as like a screen with a bezel, which you can scale up to be whatever size you want. I find it to be a little easier sometimes to just use this option. All right, so that basically I did that there, and then I think these ones were maybe banners or something. And so for like a banner, you could go into maybe decor and use something from like stretch shapes or maybe expressive structures to get just kind of something that would be like a banner. Or you could go into this section and go to scenery and then walls. And in here, let's say I wanted to do some specific dimension of a wall or of a printed backdrop or something. Again, I could click on this guy and then we'll say like, maybe we want it 10 by 20 or something like that. And it'll basically just put it there in the back of the room, and then I can move it around and do whatever I want with it and add an image to it. Stuff like that. So that might be this one is actually an LED wall. So same thing, just that it's an LED wall. All right, so that's kind of how I did that. It looks like, again, I have a kind of curve setup here. Don't mind this graphic in the background. That's just where a floor plan was probably supposed to be. But anyways, so it looks like the way I set it up was just added some truss in the back here. Again, by going to rigging and then adding in truss, and then from there kind of just duplicating them. You can hold Alt and drag if you want to duplicate it that way. From there, I probably added some drape either by dragging it out from here like this and then rotating it and that sort of thing. It's pretty simple stuff. Or potentially you could go to backdrop and just add a specific width and height that you want, and that'll put it right there for you. Aside from that, I added in some lifts. So in the staging option here, we have a lift option over here, which you can then move around and scale it a bit to get it at different heights. Aside from that, it looks like if I go back into my, actually if I stay here in my in this view, I have some truss uprights that I added here to hold up the screen. And again, from there, I could just add a base and then a truss piece on top of it. It looks like these bases are a little bit larger, so in some cases I might scale them up to be like a 3x3 or possibly larger heavy base. And then it looks like I also up here added all these individual lights, if I zoom in on this, to the truss here. And so again, with that, similar to the last project, I just kind of added them in there, and then I believe I grouped them all together like that. Aside from that, we've got some truss uprights again to hold up these screens so that we can give some space between the backdrop and then where the screens are. And I also kind of had this idea of floating these lights here so that they could be above the ground, have some height to them. So if you were to do something like that, you could definitely have these upright trusses like I have here, and then connect those with like a bar, a pipe or something, so you could get away with doing something like that. And then in the back here, I have a bunch of scenery again. And in this case, again, I would probably just like duplicate them. Maybe I drag them out, or you could populate them by going to scenery again and then just creating some tiles and setting dimensions like here. Or you could go into the individual decor option here. Looks like these are atomic panels of some kind. And you could drag them out and then again duplicate them upward and kind of move them around as you need to. And you can get them more precise if you change the snapping settings to something specific. But yeah, so basically just do that and then group them together, and then you can just kind of duplicate them and get a pretty quick result that way. And then again, finally, once you've done all that, you can group some of these objects together and adjust the colors as you need, kind of like this. And then I think I probably have these, looks like I have these lights grouped together as well. So I'll just select these, and you can see now if I change the color here, I get a bit of a different color for the uplighting there. Cool. All right, so that's just a quick example of doing all that. Again, more groups when I laid out moving lights here. A couple other things that I might do would be aiming lights. So in this situation, I have some lighting trees back here, so I might select one of the lights, unlock the group, and then select one of the lights, and then you can hit this aim button and aim it wherever you want to, basically, and that'll help a little bit rather than having to try to rotate things. You can do that similar with these moving lights. And lastly, you could possibly add some haze to kind of give some extra added effects. And that's pretty much it as far as these two projects go and kind of that workflow. Again, just adding some custom stairs here. You could do that a couple different ways with either some basic cube shapes or taking one of the stairs that we have already in the program like this and just kind of manipulating something like this by scaling it. Cool. All right. So hopefully that helps. Just want to go through some of my workflow stuff. And usually, things, if they're more conceptual, you're kind of just going through things slowly, and it's not always going to be super fast if you're kind of just playing around with ideas and whatnot. But there are ways to, like grouping things and then duplicating them and all that sort of stuff can make things run a little smoother. So as always, let me know if you have any questions. You can use our live chat feature on our website to get a hold of us between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Immediately. And other than that, we'll do more live streams on Fridays. That's usually around like 10 a.m. Mountain Time is when we usually start those. All right, and that's it for now. Thanks.